mean, they said try to back me. That's that's what part of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody good.
All right, good afternoon. I know it's really close to afternoon, so good afternoon, everyone. Today is a little bit bittersweet because it is our final session of the Water Academy. I have very much enjoyed meeting with you all, engaging with you all, and also giving you an opportunity to learn about some of the really important, cool stuff that we have going on at Jackson Water. I know our last session was a little bit different than expected just because we had a ton of information and we didn't necessarily have time to get to our governance structure exercises. So I promised this time that we would give a lot of our attention to that. And so I worked to combine those two exercises from last time. So we have the case study and also sort of the re-envisioning exercise that will be a week. So it will take quite a bit of time for you all to do the case study, which is why I'm kind of glad we got to do it on this last session. Ted is going to come later, of course, he's back this session. He's going to come later to talk about wastewater management, and then we also have Carl, our Chief Revenue Officer, who will come and talk a little bit more about customer service and billing. But first, we're going to get started since it was so content heavy last time. We're going to get started with our governance exercise so we can make sure we have enough time to get through that. And it looks like, I would say based on the amount of people we have here today, I have 3 tables, but we might just do 2 groups, just in the interest of time. So, any questions or reflections before we get started? No? I'm gonna jump right in. Okay? Good. So, last time we talked a lot about operations and management, right? So everything that it takes to run the plant, also everything that it takes to make, monitor and the maintenance that's required for the distribution system, right? I hope that you all gathered a lot of insight about that process because today's case study for you all is really centered around how each governance structure would solve some of the problems that we talked about throughout the Water Academy, right? Okay, so everyone on their table should have an envelope. Yes, envelope. Can you, I hate to move you right here. But you can be an actually, you'll need to be in. Okay. You don't have to move right now, but just start the exercise. Okay. So, every table should have an envelope. In that envelope, you'll have your instructions for the case study, and you'll also have a few name badges. These name badges are roles that each of you all will play in this case study. So once we start, you all will actually pick the name tag, pick the role, decide amongst your group who will play each role, and then you all will get started on the case study, right? So I am going to take you through a few elements of the case study because there are a few variables, right? And I want you all to keep in mind as you all are working through this that we're looking for a couple of different things. This is sort of an exercise for you all, but it's also a gathering tool for us. We're looking for the elements that you think are most important when solving problems like this, right? The problem that is going to be presented in the case study. We're also looking for your thoughts about governance structure, right? In this particular case study, we're asking you to pick any one of these structures, any one of these components from these structures, and try to apply it to the case study. Now, one of the things about case studies like this is you aren't able to cover every single variable that exists in these problems, but what we're just trying to get you all to do is think about how you might solve them, think about how you might talk to the community, and just think through some of the variables that are in place when we're making decisions around case studies. So I'll just say that first before I talk through this. So, first page. There's a hypothetical town called Jackson. And in Jacktown, they are dealing with a leak issue, right? They have about 100 leaks across the city, and they've been dealing with this lingering issue for a while, right? Now, they have a new opportunity. And in this opportunity, they are getting $2 million a year for the next 5 years to solve this leak issue, right? Your team's job is going to be to allocate those resources and set up a plan for how you're going to fix the leaks, right? It doesn't have to be super detailed and technical, but there's a few resources that are going to help you solve that problem. So, on the first page, you'll have an overview of the case study that's telling you what the issues are. Super simple. The second one is the instructions on the second page. So what we're looking for you to do is solve the problem, right? If you do the math, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, you'll be able to solve all the leaks in 4 years, right? But there are some variables in place. Where are you starting first? There's a map here. It's broken down by 4 wards, right? And it has dots that indicate where the leaks are. So you have some variables that make it a little bit complicated because there's a lot of leaks in some wards and there's not a lot of leaks in others, right? And so as you're doing this $2 million over 5 years, you have to decide where you're fixing the leaks first, okay? So you already know you have enough money to fix the leaks, but you're only getting $2 million every 5 years, and then your leaks are in different places in the city, okay? So those are the variables that make this a little bit complicated. Even though I'm going to go ahead and tell you off the bat to save time, you have enough money to repair every leak in 5 years. This is an active problem in the community. So there are active leaks happening over those 5 years while you're trying to get them fixed. So that's a variable that your group is going to have to account for. Okay, allocate the budget. I have a budget template here that kind of helps you do that, so it's not going to be labor intensive. But what I'm just looking for is how much of your resources every year are you spending on the leak fixes, right? Next is assigning the governance structure. So which structure do you want to apply to your solution, right? Are you municipal ownership, which is what we're most familiar with? Do you want to apply this particular structure and apply your solution this way? Or do you want to use a different one, like commission governance? Once you identify your governance structure, the next step is who are the decision makers, right? So you'll have the option, your group will have the option to pick 3 community members as your decision makers. Now, you don't have to name these people, right? You don't have to say a name like Aaron Banks, right? All you have to do is say, maybe health department official, right? Clergy member, right? Whatever that different stakeholder might be, we're just looking for who you think is the best person to represent the community in the decision-making process. And then the very last part is communicating to the community, right? So the community is, you're reading the case study, they're a little antsy. They have leaks everywhere. Even though they know we have the money to fix it now, it's still going to be a process, right? What we're looking for here is, when things like this happen, what do you all think is the best channel for communication to tell the community what we're doing and what they can expect from us, right? So those are 5 things that we're looking for in the instructions. And so, like I said, you have, as your resources, you have this map that just gives you some indicators around where the leaks are in each ward, right? So if your group said, hey, we're taking care of all the leaks in Ward 1 first, then you would say, we're taking care of leaks in Ward 1 first because it has the most leaks, and then that will be a part of your implementation plan. If you think that, hey, because 4 has the least amount, and you can go ahead and knock those out, it just depends on what your group decides is the best course of study. You also have an expert opinion here. This is just sort of a cheat sheet, just for you all to kind of think through the decisions that you're going to make around this. This expert opinion kind of gives you some clues about how you can approach the situation. Technology solutions. One of the things we talked about when we talked about the leaks fixes in our distribution system is it took some technology, investments in technology to be able to improve them, right? So you have the $2 million a year, but you also have to think about how much you're going to spend on technology every year to be able to support your plan, right? So in that budget template, it has a space where you get to put how much you spend on technology, okay? Guided questions are just to help you understand the case study a little bit more. You can use that as a resource if you like, and here's the template that'll also be there. And then the last part is just where your group is gonna fill in as your answers, right? So, name the leak fixing initiative. Of course, the audit is called Find and Fix. You know, we talked about that last time. Assign your governance structure and a rationale for your group about why you chose that structure. Financial stability, so complete the budget, and then decision makers. You have some lines here to include your decision. Okay, so at the end of the exercise, you guys are gonna have like a full 40 minutes to be able to dive into this case study. But at the end, each group is gonna present how they solved the problem, what governance structure they chose, and tell us a little bit about their budget and the way they're gonna communicate with the public. Any questions? Not yet. Okay. If you do, of course, be walking around for support as you all deep dive into this case study. I do have some chart paper here if you would like to use that for your presentation to the group. Markers on your table, so feel free to use any of those resources to be able to present your solutions back to the group. And then the last thing I would say is try to be really innovative in your approaches, right? Even if it's not one governance structure that you feel applies, we want you to be as futuristic as you possibly can. Like, which components for this structure do you feel like are the most relevant to JXN? And kind of being really clear in your rationale about why you think that's Jacktown and why you think that's the most effective governance structure. Any other questions? Okay. You have one? No, okay.
In here, does it tell you how much it costs per leak or?
Yes, it does tell you how much it costs for you to repair the leaks.
What about labor, equipment? I don't see that on here.
We're not gonna get into those payments.
That's $2 million really enough.
We're just gonna, the way I did it in the name of the exercise is just a flat fee to make the math really easy, right? So you wouldn't have to get into a deep algebra word problem and be able to solve it. But it's just something super simple to make the math really easy. Here's one more. There's one caveat, right? Halfway through, I'm gonna go ahead and give you a primer. Halfway through the exercise, which is about 20 minutes in, you'll have to do an impromptu town hall, right? In that impromptu town hall, which often happens here at Jackson Water, you have to pick from this cup, your team will pick from this cup, and it's a town hall question, right? Y'all will get 2 minutes to confer, and then come back and answer it. And what that is to simulate is just like, oftentimes when we're making the plan, we still have to respond to community, right? Because the issue is actively happening. So, Jacktown got together and they want to have a town hall to hear what the city's going to do about the leaks. So, keep in mind, as you're coming up with things, halfway through, you're going to have to answer some questions. And the questions really are to help you think through what needs to be considered in your response. Okay.
We're tackling probably one or two at the same time.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so I will go ahead and set the timer for the first 20 minutes. And give you all time to sort of read and deep dive and decide what positions roles you're going to play. So if you're the chief financial officer, you would give your attention to the budget too, right? If you're the communications person, you would think through how you all are going to engage with the community. And if you're the operations person, you would be thinking about what is the strategy you're going to use to fix the leaks. Make sense? All right, you guys get started.
Okay, I don't think we're gonna do this.
Yes, ma'am. Because you're the only $500. You're gonna have to hire the repair.
Okay.
The 12 quarter to do the
Pressure.
Perfect
Okay, 2 minutes to think about your answer.
Yeah, I saw him. We saw him. So, you know, that's why we got to start. We got to start with one, and y'all started with 4. transmission. We still have to figure out how to get the book. You got to so you said pressure management?
Yeah, because, well, listen, is this at the water thing? So you're just talking about control around the water.
Now, what we learned from our lesson, I think,
Not for the map that day.
what I think this is at the water.
Okay, is it the water pump? That's cool. It's just a water pump.
Well, you know what? No, that ain't how you gotta read though. Because it's on specific sections like in the transmission line.
The second year, it's really 20.
Maybe you want to do that as time goes on. This is what I'm saying. You're gonna put the situation under control. Okay, technology, you're gonna detail levels of water distribution. Okay, so you want to say one in pressure management, so that'll be 150 and 250 pounds. So that'll be $400,000. So we can do everything else is over. So we're doing geospace. We're gonna start out with GIS and pressure management.
Yeah. But see, the trick to this whole thing is just $2 million grant.
All right, y'all got about 30 seconds left. You can choose your spokesperson.
That's the trick. We good? Why $1 million companies? Why $1 million I got the grant. So why you got income? You got income here. Go ahead.
All right, we'll start with this group over here. All right, I'll read I'll read the town hall question. It says, I'm James, a community advocate. Given that low-income areas like Ward 1 are severely impacted by leaks, what specific measures will you take to ensure that these areas are not neglected?
Okay, basically we decided we were gonna start with one. I'm talking about no. Do I need this? Okay, well basically we decided we were gonna go with Ward 1 and everything, and Ward 4.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Basically because the low income area, basically like in Ward 1, which I consider everything with the most leaks, and we start down here and we can pretty well satisfy our customers starting out right there with the most customer base and everything that we have as far as bringing in revenue.
Okay.
I say.
Okay, nice. Good answer.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see, what's the town hall
Still missing
question?
$1 million companies.
I'm Linda from Ward 4. Since our ward contributes significantly to high property taxes, shouldn't our leaks be addressed first to reflect our financial contribution to the city?
Okay, so what we decided was that it is significant and very much appreciated that your ward has higher property taxes and does contribute a significant portion of the budget. However, you also have the resources to offset the impacts more so than the lower income areas. And it's also kind of detrimental to our overall sense of community to look at it from us versus them, which we're all sharing the city, we're sharing the resources. So we're gonna get to everybody. We're not, trying to say that one community is more so deserving than another. We're just looking at the reality of where the resources are in the city and how people can combat the water crisis overall. And you all are better well positioned to deal with the water crisis. So we wanna service those who are impacted the hardest and don't have maybe the wherewithal to kind of deal with it more so than the higher income communities.
Nice. Good job. Okay. Very successful town hall. So you guys have another 20 minutes to brainstorm on your case study before you present.
Okay, we gotta get the budget under control.
Yeah, receivers going.
Okay, got Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. And I understand what you're saying. It would be awesome if some people went out.
Okay, since this table went first the first time for the town hall, we can do this table first the next time. Okay, yeah, okay. I will hand over. Okay.
Okay,
So they make that come from the water.
we operate pretty good under stress. We just came up with the name, we are Oasis, which stands for Operating and Sustaining Infrastructure Safely. We haven't yet divided responsibility yet, but we did, kind of back into this, which we're trying to say, well, with our budgets, the way we want to approach this, we want to determine how many leaks per year we could handle. And the first thing we looked at was the technology, how we wanted to spread that, and then took that away from money and how many leaks do we fix, and then there's some leftover carry the next year. So I did the same thing on that. I will pass this on. Next,
Well, sure, I can kind of
what we did,
Yeah.
approach it.
Just a high-level overview of how we ended up breaking things down. We ended up doing 22 weeks in year one, and instead of just focusing on location, we prioritized getting the large transmission line leaks. We want to do at least 2 in each ward over the 5-year period, and then for the smaller line leaks, we focused on the number in Ward 4, getting that down, and then over subsequent years, get all the rest of them out. So we ended up repairing 22 leaks in year 1, 23 leaks in year 2, 22 in year 1, 22 in year 2, 23 in year 3, 22 again in year 4, and then that left us with a total of 11 for year 5. So we were able to address all the 100 leaks. And then we spread the technology out so that we did, we did geospatial information systems labs in year 5. We did the pressure management system in the first 3 years. We added the automated valve control in the last 2 years, and then we also added the predictive maintenance in that last year. So by not trying to do everything all at once, we were able to kind of address all the problems.
Spend all our money.
We did.
Nice, okay, so, who are your decision makers? Did you all get to that yet?
We didn't get to that part, but we decided that the public-private partnership would be our preferred governance model, just because, well, I'll let you explain that.
Well, with the public-private partnership, we selected it because, if it was municipal, you have government constraints, and we felt the public-private partnership, we have the ability to hire the best talent because we don't have the governmental constraints, and but at the same time, we still have some input from our local government and our constituents. So that's why we chose our public-private partnership.
Okay, and I think the last question, you all did a really great job covering the budget. What variable did you find most difficult in the case study?
They were all kind of difficult. It's a unique set of circumstances. Yeah, it was kind of difficult trying to find and prioritize all of them because everything was so necessary, but at the same time, your resources are limited. And then another component was not knowing, the cost of labor and, things like that, because things happen all the time, so you need to have incidental just in case, there could be a supply chain shortage, anything that can happen that will throw your whole budget out of whack. And additionally, it mentioned keeping the community engaged. Those things cost money as well. So if you can agree, develop an app or whatever the case may be, you would still have to have, money allocated for community engagement. So all of it together is kind of challenging.
We did allocate the large leagues, but we haven't really allocated the other leagues to the other league. Exactly. That's an open end right now.
Any other comments or takeaways from the exercise for your group?
At the end,
No? Great job.
It's over.
You all did a great job doing some really great observations. I saw George nodding her head in the back for some of the decisions that you all made. That was a great
We start with the budget first?
Yes, you, wherever you would like to start.
Let's start with government structure.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we chose public and private partnership also, just because it's been done a couple different ways. I think that's the best way to do it. And, we know we do not want council members to be over our water bill anymore. Because we still in well, I'm getting personal, it's just a class. So the public-private partnership works great because you have enough knowledge both ways on people that's employed by the public side and the partnership side. So therefore, we stick with that as our number one way to go.
Okay.
Concerning the budget, we looked at it from a number of different, areas. Because what we wanted to do was to make sure that we covered everything. And so in covering everything, we knew we had 100 leaks, and we wanted to look at our budget over the 5-year period. So basically, we started out by looking at doing everything evenly. Let's say by doing maybe 8 main pipe breaks, and doing 12 small per year with the, with Mr. Payne and Mr. Brown basically deciding as time went on, where could, as maybe the year ended, they could assess things and be able to do things differently the next year. But what we pretty much did to start off, because using a budget template as an estimate, we started off looking at keeping everything even. So pretty much our cost of leak repair for the first year would have been like $2 million. So one of the points of discussion that we really had to have that was very in-depth was on the technology solutions, because that's what we ran into, realizing we didn't have enough money to do everything we wanted to do, because the approach we were taking was more of looking at it from a customer triage approach, customer engagement, and just looking at when Mr. Brown first actually gave the first answer about how we would start in zone 1 and zone 4, and looking at the fact that that was the highest concentration of leaks. So we actually took that approach overall in looking at even some of our costs. We wanted to go to community engagement and even getting an expert's opinion for the first year. And then looking at and taking that information overall and carrying it out over 5 years. But for our cost of maintenance for the first year, we decided to use GIS and the automated valve system. But we decided to also keep GIS over the entire 5 years, would change up as needed as we went over the next 5 years between the automated valve system and the pressure management approach. And so because also Mr. Payne was talking about maybe with the automated valve system, hiring some people to just go and turn those valves off, even though we know it's not automated, but being able to still keep our costs in areas where we wanted to place it, such as community engagement. So for the most part, that's how we approach it.
Nice. What variables did you find the most difficult?
Really the technology solutions. Realizing I think we got to the end, we knew we wanted to make repairs.
Basically, of course, that's why we're here to do it. So that was a big issue. So then finding that you couldn't have all the technology, then understanding that okay, also you want to look at having an expert. It takes it actually takes money for all of this. Then the next approach with the community engagement we really wanted to see be done was being able to have customer contact. For instance, maybe some type of text messaging, we talked about that as well. Some type of text messaging approach, because one of the first questions one of the guys actually asked was, do we have all of our customers' phone numbers? But what we also dealt with, you have to have consent to actually text. So we actually have to put resources into that, having consent, whether they go to a website and consent to it or whatever. But you have to have their consent to do that. So we wanted to look at doing that, so therefore we had that engagement approach. And also looked at, even with the call center, having one voice threaded throughout. Okay, if we are doing town halls, then let's make sure that even the call center approach is we have the same message, we're hearing the same thing, because that's one thing. That way we probably can get some calm and peace to our customers by making sure we have one voice.
That way we actually be able to reach out to all customers and everything.
Nice.
Because everybody's doesn't have access to internet next door and that type of thing just as well too. So to be able to reach out to all customers.
Nice, very good job. Well, give yourselves a round of applause. I know that was intense and a lot of variables, but it was to really simulate the different things that go into every decision that we make here at Jackson Water. Like when we're triaging leaks, when we're deciding where we're fixing things and prioritizing what needs to be fixed in the plant, we take in all of these considerations to be able to make the most effective and efficient decisions. And the more the community, customers understand that process, the more you all can understand why we're making the decisions we're making. So I appreciate you all for participating in that case study. And I hear you all take some sides. So we're going to take about a 5-minute bio break before Ted comes and proceeds with the wastewater module. We'll take a 5-minute bio break and then we'll start with our content for the day.
Tea and lemonade.
That was the secret behind all of this.
They haven't done it, but it's on there.
So you was right, huh? Blue rice made on my street. I don't First Avenue dealt with him. Very close.
I already got you here, so
Okay. This is for this. Our real stop sign is 45. I mean, 145. And this is your content.
start screaming for power.
Yeah, they had actually mailed me that too, and I was carrying that around, but, that I don't know.
Got them, the guys to pull out specifically from report from you, just and I think also
What you did?
You know, I fix all my home. We don't like doing that.
This ain't Slim lemonade, that's true. Dude, this is Montana.
For years ago, I had some, it was definitely. several of us. Trainers split off big enough land where I had top. There's a big tree that split.
Yeah, there's 10.
Yeah.
Correct in your assessment.
COVID management is Mother builders, put a slab.
That's the first thing they do. All right, Mr. Steve, come on, man. Tell you got here on time today.
We'll get you.
Yeah, get ready.
1 minute warning.
All right.
So can you go back to work today or you take the facility off?
That's all you do. Send up here in the air, they make you sleep. Send up here in the air for a couple hours, make you sleep.
You use it.
Just right.
So you got work together? You don't work
I think we talk till we go to sleep.
Really?
We've been friends a long time.
Okay, let's get back to seats. We'll put you back.
Yeah, long time.
1 o'clock.
Good. We've been friends for a long, over 4 years.
Sit back, listen. Don't have to work as hard. Asians would put me to the basis. Anyway, I appreciate all the effort you guys have been making and being here again today. So I'm going to talk sewer, which is a good thing wastewater. We had lunch earlier, but I've been involved in the wastewater side of the world for much longer than I have in drinking water, so it's very familiar to me. The first rule of that is it all flows downhill. And we'll talk about how that works as we go through this. But so we're going to cover, let's get past all of that. So we've got quite the agenda, understanding the role of wastewater. We're going to talk about collection systems and treatment and how it all happens. And we're going to do all that in 15 minutes, so we're not going to read all this. This is the system here in Jackson. A lot of pipes. So all the purple lines you're seeing are sewer pipes that run through communities, down streets, in backyards. And I want to just point out that pretty much the whole city flows towards the river. This little river along here. And then we've got a large diameter pipe that flows along there. It picks up the flow that comes from the city towards the river. It's called an interceptor. And it was called that because at one time, those pipes that all flowed towards the river went straight into the river. We didn't treat our waste, we just collected it and discharged it into the environment. So most communities have some sort of interceptor system that picks up those pipes that used to go to the river and take them to a treatment plant. So you hear us talk often about what we call the West Bank Interceptor. It's a very large diameter pipe that runs along the west bank of the Pearl River. So that's a critical part of our infrastructure, and we'll talk a little bit about it, but I'm not going to dwell on it, but just want to understand that terminology of interceptor, where it came from. And obviously the goal today is not to let anything flow to the river that's untreated, and we'll talk about it later. And then I've got slight enlargement. This is a section of the system, and to put you where this is Purple Creek, and this is Hanging Moss Creek, and these are some of the main lines coming out to the interceptor. This is the West Bank Interceptor. This is an older piece of interceptor that comes down and ties into the West Bank there at Hanging Moss. But that main pipe takes all of our flow all the way down by gravity the Savannah Street treatment plant. We'll talk about that. Just get you a little orientation. We assumed responsibility here at Jackson Water for the sewer system in October of 2023. We originally were just drinking water with the federal order. We took Judge Wingate past a active overflow on a tour we were doing. He asked a lot of questions about why that was happening, and next thing you know, he directs the parties. And the parties in this case, slightly different than water. MDEQ, Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality, regulates the sewer system. So in the water side, we've got the health department because they regulate drinking water. And on the sewer side, we've got the DEQ. And we still have the city, Department of Justice, and EPA all party to that stipulated order. Some of the big challenges that were in the in the stipulated order for that is this: there were almost, well, we estimated well over 300 what we call dry weather overflows. I'll talk about this in a minute. That were active at the time, meaning sewer just flowing up onto the street, onto a yard, into the river. You're all familiar with them. You probably had some in your neighborhood. 215 of those locations were listed specifically in that stipulated order, and we were supposed to resolve those. And then we had a lot of bypasses of the plant, and I'll talk about how that happens in the Savannah Street plant, putting basically untreated wastewater directly into the river. Service requests, you call 311, often nothing happened. There were 2,200 of those that hadn't been investigated when we took over. And then a lot of other things that need to be done. So they, again, just like water work or priority projects that they identified, I'm not going to go into great detail, emergency sewer failures, a regular cleaning contract, those service requests. We've got Mill Street was identified as a problem. You've ever noticed that there's a pump that sits sort of in the middle of Mill Street. It's been there. We had that resolved for about a week recently, and that's all due to collapse on because under the railroad tracks. We're working on solving that long term. Then there's ongoing work on the West Bank intersector. That's why I wanted you to understand that. That's obviously a critical part of the infrastructure. The pump station or the treatment plant itself has some problems. We'll talk about that. A lot of problems. And then finally, trade highway got some work on. That's a smaller plant, but it doesn't handle a lot of city of Jackson flow. It handles Byron, handles a few other areas. So we go to operations. It's really collection and transportation, moving waste from your house to where we're going to treat it. And then we have the treatment and disposal, and of course we need to maintain all that. So it flows by gravity from your home to the main lines that are in the street. It flows by gravity, continues all the way to get to the West Bank Interceptor, gravity down the West Bank Interceptor to the treatment plant. You can imagine we don't have enough gravity everywhere yet without what really need, especially with the change in elevation. So every now and then, instead of the line getting too deep, we have to pump it back up and start the gravity flow again at a reasonable elevation. So we've got 99 pumping stations that in our case, technically are lift stations because we're taking the sewage from a very low elevation, we're just raising it up and putting it back into a gravity station. So that's called a lift. We're making a lift, we're lifting it up. Making a true pumping station would have a force main, pressurized pipe there, and go maybe for miles and miles in a pressurized pipe. That would be a true pumping station. So ours are all lift stations. We won't quiz you. Collection system, again, takes the water, originates from your house. We're a separate system. We don't take storm water. We just take your sanitary sewer waste. So everything comes out of your sinks, your showers, your toilets. It all goes through pipes from your house to the city system, our system, ultimately get treated. And so that's the big pipes you saw, or the network of pipes you saw. Most of the ones in the street start at 8 inches. They get bigger as they carry more flow. You also have to keep a very close eye on the slope. You would think that you might want to make it steeper so you can move more water fast, but that, it's going to get a little gross. Graphic here. That allows the solids to separate from the liquid and would actually sit in the pipe. So you're really limited to a fairly flat slope for a sewer pipe. And so it has to be a flat slope. You don't want the solids to settle out. You want to keep them flowing with everything else. gross as that sounds, we'll talk a lot about solids here. So this is how it works, and the piece that's different in Jackson is that you're responsible as a property owner all the way to the sewer main. So this piece of pipe that connects your house to the sewer main is actually yours. And you're responsible to maintain it. You're responsible to fix it. It's fairly unusual in the United States, but it's not totally unusual. Most places, the property line would be where your responsibility would stop. A lot of our plumbers in Jackson think that's where your responsibility stops. Your responsibility, according to the way the sewer ordinance was originally written when it was put in place, is all the way to the main. What does that mean? That means that potentially a failure in here is your responsibility to fix, and it's maybe out in the middle of the street. We just had a resident on Raymond Road, and in Raymond Road, it's actually the main from her side is way over on this side of the street, and the failure was out in the middle of the street, and that was her responsibility to take care of. So we're having most of our issues now in this stretch of pipe, and trying to convince residents that it's their problem. We'll actually take our TV camera into the main, and we can shoot a camera up into the lateral and tell folks exactly how many feet up the problem is. And it's typically a blockage or a disjointed pipe. Often grease is involved. We'll talk a little bit about fats, oils, and grease. But having to dig down and fix that is an expensive job. It's hard on plumbers. So we're still looking at how we can change that dynamic at some point in the future. But that's what we inherited. This is a Jackson water policy that was actually the ordinance that was put in place. City of Jackson, and sewer was first put into the city. That's the role of lift stations. Again, at some point we need to bring the sewer back up so we can still flow with gravity. So now we'll talk about the treatment and disposal, and we've got a great little video to show you. This is the Spanish Street plant. It takes a big chunk of land down on the east side of 55 as you go south at the Spanish Street exit. There's no audio, so you don't get to hear the sewage get treated. So this is Savannah Street, and how can I pause it?
Just press the space bar.
Space bar. So, I'll talk fast. So this is a number of portable pumps. You can see them around the big hole, so that West Bank Interceptor flows in. When it gets to the plant, it's a 108-inch diameter pipe. Huge. We need to be able to move flow from there into some overflow basins. So essentially we've got what we call storm cells. They're just big basins, and when the flow gets too high during wet weather, we can pull it out of there using these pumps and push it over to these lagoons. That keeps it from going out to the river. And then as the flow comes down, we pump it out of the lagoon and back into the treatment plant. So ultimately, if you're using these correctly and we can move enough flow into them, we never have to go overboard. We never have to go into the river untreated. Some of our current issues are that this is the thing you saw from the air, those pumps, is pretty haphazardly put together. It was done years ago. It should be. You can try to pause it for me. Thank you. So that should be a much larger structure. Should be and we've got the Corps of Engineers. We're working with them on a 100 million gallon a day pump that will replace that whole mess. Be done appropriately so we can divert flow into the storm cells and pull it back into the plant itself. I'm going to keep going.
Okay, keep going. But you can also, it'll show pictures on the next side.
Okay, we'll just go with pictures. And then, so basically, in our case, this is traditional wastewater treatment. Combination of physical, biological, and chemical work is done to treat waste, but most of it's done by the bugs. Biological microbes or activated sludge in our case. They break down the waste, but this Traditionally, you have a primary basin clarifier, which essentially uses gravity to let solids settle out. First, you screen it, you get a physical process screening, get things out. You let it settle in a primary clarifier so solids drop. You put it into a basin with activated sludge. You make the environment right for the bugs to break down. So you're adding oxygen to some parts of it. You take oxygen out of other parts. You make sure there's enough food source in there for the microbes to do their business. It's essentially a human gut, digesting this waste. And then you, once again, go into another clarifier after you've done that. You let what's left solid-wise settle out. In this case, there's tertiary treatment to do a little nutrient removal. And then from there, you add chlorine, where you run through a UV disinfectant, you disinfect it, and then you ultimately discharge it into whatever environment you're putting it back into. Along the way, you're pulling solids out. I told you we talked about solids. People forget that when you're treating wastewater, there's a lot of solids that come out of that process. It comes out in various places. You get some out in the screening. Most of that goes to a landfill. Out of the various basins, you get activated sludge waste that comes out along with solids you pulled out. And you do something to dewater. In our case, we've got these belt presses to dewater it. Basically get it from almost like 0.5% solids, which looks like liquid, to somewhere in the 30%, 20% solids, which is much drier material. Doesn't sound like it at 20%, but it actually looks like drier soil. And then from there, we haul it, ideally to put it on landfill or farm fields, where they turn it into the soil. Great fertilizer, a great beneficial reuse, but you can only do that certain times a year between planting, and when you can't get it into the ground, we have to take it to landfill. But the best way to reuse it is through land application. Going through all these. So then it goes back to the environment again. If with disinfection, not only do we disinfect with chlorine, we take the chlorine back out before we discharge, so we don't pour a bunch of chlorinated water into the river. Bypassing, only when the storm cells can't handle the flow do we have to bypass. And right now, the storm cells have not been dredged in 10 years. So you can imagine solids build up in there, so we've lost a lot of the capacity. We're working on a design right now to get those dredged so we get more capacity again to avoid bypasses. We're also been working to put more flow through the plant. Thankfully, we can say that the month of June, no bypasses at all, only 2 in May. So we're definitely getting to the point where we're doing a better job on our bypasses. That's my alarm. My 15 minutes is up. Stop! Anyway, so bypassing is obviously something we try to avoid, and we're working very hard with the contract operator, who's Veolia, who runs the plant, to make sure that we can avoid bypasses in the future. No, we're not going to go over any of this. Common causes of our problems are blockages in lines. You have a role in that with fats, oils, and grease. This lovely stuff that builds up in the pipe. A lot of that comes out of your home. If you pour grease down the drain, you can imagine the grease is liquid when it's warm and goes in the drain. It's cold spot at some point, it starts going up in the pipes. When we come out and look, we do TV inspections. This is a dirty movie here that's looking at the inside of the pipe. QN in the backpack there is to watch those at nauseum to see what's wrong with the pipes. We can find exactly what the defects are as a result of that. But really, the fat, oil, and grease problem, residentially, you need to take your grease, pour it in a can, do something with it other than put it down the drain. Because if it doesn't cause problems in your pipe, it's going to cause problems in the city system at some point, and the rural system. And we're working with restaurants. They all have to have grease traps. Churches too that have commercial kitchens, any place that does. Those need to be maintained regularly. We're working on a program to help folks do that. And really keep the grease out of the system. That was really fast over your sewer. It deserves a lot more. We should talk about sewer all day. But I want to get to customer care and billing, which is the next section. So quick questions on sewer before we do that?
Got one.
Sure.
What happens after like a heavy rain, and you see water shooting up out the manhole?
That's a great question. So I said we're separate, right? The stormwater is in one section, one group of pipes, not supposed to be in the sewer system with us. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any such thing as a true separate system. The problem is cracks in the lines, openings, things like that allow rainwater to get into the system during big rains, and it gets to be too much because there's limited capacity of the pipes. So as you get too much water in it, pressurized upstream, you may have, maybe 10 feet higher down the road. And so as the water's flowing through there, it gets to a point where the pressure is so much, it has to come out. So it's coming out of those holes in the manhole. Sometimes it'll push the manhole top, a big cast iron manhole top, all the way off because the pressure of the water's so high. We're trying to avoid that. So hopefully you don't see that as much anymore. And at some point, in the very rare big rain event that would happen that causes that. But that is what causes it.
Okay.
Yeah, some of those manholes located around ditch or water line areas.
Yeah, a lot of the manholes down the street, but then we've got a lot of them that are close to like crossings along the West Bank Interceptor. You'll see those are actually with chimney tops. Essentially, you see the manhole standing up pretty high above the box it's attached to. Again, that's trying to keep that from overflowing. We've built it up so that it's taller. Right? There's a lot of those. Questions? All right, Carla, you're up. We did sewer disservice. You can use that mic if you want to do one of this. You gotta talk as fast as you can.
Why?
It's only 15 minutes. Here's the slide of the answer. However you put it. All right. Good luck.
How are y'all? So I know building is everyone's favorite subject in the waterworks scene. We've certainly had more troubles long term with the city than most departments have, or at least that everybody knows of. We're going to talk about kind of the role of our customer service agents, like how they're working now, overview of how we resolve issues here in the building department, kind of some new technology and new ways that we're trying to improve our customer service. Mr. Hennepin's going to talk about the rates. And then we're going to talk about new ways to pay and things that we're doing going forward. So the role of our customer service department has changed significantly since it used to be in the city of Jackson. I know you're aware that sewer and water have their own different departments, and you had to call WSBA. Now we've rolled them all together, and we have a call center that is 24/7. It is not in the city of Jackson, but it is not a walk-in true customer service stuff. They're a professional call center that was already in place when we started this process. So that was I guess, logical step for us. So I just want everybody to know this is not a out-of-town customer service department. Okay. All right. And it's 24/7. So we do take calls on the weekends and after hours. And we do calls for maintenance. You see a leak on the street, you can call the number. You see a meter leaking, you call that number. We try to do that so that we can triage everything kind of in an integrated way to provide better customer service. Also lets us use our resources better. And this kind of describes the journey. You call the call center, no matter what for. Actually, Ted calls the call center. When he sees a leak on the street, he doesn't do anything. He picks up the phone and he calls 800, the 500 number, so that works out. The customer service reps, we have some dedicated for Jackson, and they do their very best to kind of resolve issues. If you have questions about your bills, they can pull up all of their information. If you want to report a leak, or if you have sewer backing up somewhere, call the 500 number and the customer services reps. They triage it and actually have tools in place to put it into production faster than we do. So I have like mayors and other people call me and I'm like, I can't actually get it faster than the call center do, because they are also in touch with all of the field crews out working in the weekends. So yeah, so they
So
can
they're
get you
thinking that they can call you and then Ted's gonna pull up and jump
Yes,
out
ma'am.
and be, okay.
Maybe me, and I actually dispatch the crews.
Or they'll call and think that getting to an executive level gets them faster. But by the time I call the call center, which is all I'm gonna do,
Yeah,
they're already on it. So I'm like, you just wasted 50 minutes, but it's okay.
makes sense.
It's gonna take, because I knew over the years, the community probably didn't feel like they were served well. So it was, you had to escalate a request. Like, you had to go directly to the mayor or a council person and all that. We didn't have to do that.
And we're answering it in under 6 minutes. Last quarter, it was like a minute 40 was the average. That doesn't mean that you won't have a 4-minute wait.
Yeah.
At times, and no wait at all.
But it's not an 8-hour wait, right? That's what our standard used to be. So, yeah, so, anyway, that is the quickest, fastest, most efficient way to get your problem resolved. Now the ladies on the phones, they can't answer everything, but what they do, we have a process that they can escalate it here, and this is kind of your second level. You have the billing department up here, and then I also have 4 leads, and those leads have been in the billing department or in customer service for Jackson for 10, 20 years more. And these ladies are the best that we had. So they're really the final person. So we try to get it resolved through the customer service, and then if not, and our goal is truly to resolve every issue one time. I know in the past, you would call the call center would send an email, or so if there was a process. We're trying to eliminate that. The call center has the ability to send crews out, to escalate to Jordan, and Q. I mean, they have a lot of leverage out there. Okay. Let's see. They do research, the solution, create action, and then sends it on to the other staff for investigation. We just went over this kind of the call center agent role. Some of the call center employees are former City of Jackson employees, so they really do understand how to use the billing system. But if they don't have an answer for you, they'll send it to someone else. And if they don't come back to you, that's a problem. We need to know about that. So if you have any issues with that, please ask to be escalated to one of the leads over here, and we'll get it. So they're going to ask questions. When you call in and report a leak, just be prepared. They're going to ask you, is it obstructing traffic? Is it damaging property? Sometimes I get a little frustrated because I'm like, I got it. But they're learning how to do that. And that's, the more information that they get, they put it into a tool that actually goes through the maintenance department with one of our new asset management workforce management tools. The billing agent's role, they receive calls from the call center. So if you receive a bill that is not your typical, what you're typically used to use, your consumption, unfortunately sometimes we'll put a new meter in and the customer already had a leak on the property and the bill will come out really high. Those the customer care, they don't handle. They'll escalate those to the billing team and they'll take a look at it. Oftentimes it's a true-up bill, and I don't know if you know what a true-up bill is. It's when we were getting consistent meter reads, but the billing was off, so that the system did not want to bill you. And then we have to sometimes push a true-up bill in. If there is a leak on the property, just go ahead and say, we can make an adjustment on that. And then again, the customer care leads, they're really your ultimate problem solvers. They have just about as much authority as I do. I try to give them that much to get problems done. They've all been told, no matter what, get it fixed. If you can't get it fixed, get it to me and we'll get it fixed. So, digitizing customer functions. I mean, is this a video? Can I play? No, I don't have time. Okay.
You're out of time.
I'm out of time? Okay, this is just to give you an idea of what are our new things. We have created a digital self-serve portal, and if anybody hasn't seen it, you go onto our website, and it says, I think it's my account is the link, and you can create it, a link to a digital self-serve. From this portal, you're able to see all of our billing history up to the past 36 months. We're at that lockdown. You can pay your bills with your credit card, you do an ACH draft, you can choose to go email, paperless billing. You can now start and stop your service without even talking to us, and transfer service. Those were options that were never available for Jackson. And I think it's mainly it's the new technology with the meters that allows us to do that, because we can pull back and grab reads and stuff. Online payment options, increased payment options. Oh, one of the new technology pieces is we are installing kiosks around the city. I don't know if you've seen our new toy.
None of them have been installed.
No, we're still testing them.
First one under.
But you'll be able to pay with cash, credit card, check on these machines. Put one in the middle of the mall. We're putting one in a grocery store, and we've got 3 other locations we're gonna try. And if anybody has a suggestion of where you think a good location would be, we're certainly willing to listen to that. Look, how do I do that? I don't know. Okay, let's see. This is just talking about what we just did. Yeah, self-serve options. More changing, more information on the Jackson water bills. I gave y'all a couple of samples of water bill options that we're looking at, and if we could just kind of use you guys as a way of kind of trying to figure out what the community might like to see on the water bills. Some of them are heavy on usage, so if you want to see more information about how your usage is, if you want to compare your usage to last year, if you'd like that information right up front, kind of give you an idea of your conservation level, or is it more important to you that we put conservation tips on the bills? We can do that every month. We can add any kind of defined information that's printed out. I mean, even on the back of the bills, if it's important, or you think it would be helpful to put what your payment should be in red and bold. Anything that we can help with that bill pay? No, I'm kidding. If y'all could just take a look at these and kind of just circle some of the features or placements or things that you think would be kind of like good to have for the customers, or what you like, what you don't like. Is it better to be more visible on certain parts? That would be helpful. That would be helpful to us. We are planning to increase the robust communication with our DSS. So if you haven't signed up for DSS, go ahead and do that. That's the online portal. We will be able to push out emails and text messages from there. So we're hoping to be able to integrate our meter data into the billing system, allowing us to give integral data measurements hourly. And if you have a leak on your meter, our plan is to be able to send out a text message or an email as soon as it pops up in the system. This is just how your water becomes a bill. You know, we measure it with these new ultrasonic AMI meters. Those meters send a signal through radio to the billing system. The meters record, the billing system applies the data, bills are generated, bills are mailed, you make a payment, everybody's happy. Rate structure, Mr. Hanley?
Just quickly, there's been a lot of talk about the rates. It seems to have settled out a bit, but our costs are largely, you played a little bit with budget. There's fixed costs and variable costs in what we do. The majority of them are fixed. If you use no water today, we still have the same staff showing up to work the plant. We still are running the plant We're still maintaining the lines. We send folks out to do their repairs. We do everything that we do normally, even if you use no water. If everyone in the city used no water today, we'd still have all those costs. So the only difference is chemical and power. So it's the amount of chemical we'd have to add to treat the water, the amount of power we have to move the drinking water. On the wastewater side, costs will definitely slow down as it goes in, but we have to continue to operate all the pumps. We have to continue to operate everything that's going on in the plant. Same staff shows up there as well. So our costs really aren't dependent on how much you use. They're really fixed. And that's a hard concept. And so the way we've addressed that in the new rate structure is with the monthly availability charge. Because the fact that you've got a meter attached means you can use water when you want to use water or not. So we're setting you up for using water by having a monthly availability charge, which is based on the meter size. Most of our residents have 5/8 inch meters. Those that have bigger meters pay more because it's proportional how much water you could use, and that also would be tied to how much water you'd send us back from wastewater side. On top of that, then we have a consumption charge, the $6 per CCF at the lowest tier, but it's tiered consumption because people that use a lot of water, and in this case, it's almost no residential user that uses more than 50, 100 cubic feet a month. That is a tremendous amount. The average customer uses somewhere in the 500 to 600 cubic feet a month. So we've made that lowest tier really to cover every residential customer. So no residential customer pays more than that $6. And that's combined water and sewer costs. So you pay a monthly availability charge. Then for what you use, you pay the $6 per 100 cubic feet. And your meter reads in cubic feet. So this gets some people a little confused. They read their meter and think, oh my gosh, it said I used 100 or 1,200. You're only going to really get billed for 100 cubic feet. Yeah. So that we've had someone who were recently dealing with it. And they were saying, oh, my bill should only be this, and his math was really off because he was thinking his meter was reading in 100 cubic feet, not cubic feet. So that's really why we set the rate up the way we have. I think people are getting used to it, but there's been a lot of pushback again. Use almost no water in 1 month, and you still get a $40 availability charge. It rubs people the wrong way, but it's really trying to align our revenue with our cost structure, which is a typical business does it that way. We're just trying to move that direction. Okay. Enough said. We only have enough moments. Got to roll on.
Okay. Beth. Oh.
She does.
No. Okay. Where are you gonna go here? What is this?
You can keep putting this in the.
He's selecting.
What? Okay. All right. Just to give you all an idea about leaks. We all talk about leaks. So this is a picture, a screenshot of one of the meters. And after, if y'all want me to show you what your particular meter looks like, I would like to. We'll just give you an idea on it. You see, this is 2040. This is the cubic feet, and this is just consistent here. Something happened in October 2022. They corrected it, and then something happened here in April to January. I'm surprised we can't see. Oh, January. That's when the freeze hit, probably, when everybody lost water. But this is what we see, and these are the alarms, and this is 140 cubic feet. That's a ton of water. Just think about a 4 cubic feet per hour. I'm sorry, that's right. This is per hour. This is hourly data. So you think about it, a bathtub, typical bathtub is 4 cubic feet. So when you see 140, that's a lot of water per hour. So when a customer comes in and has a bill like this looks like about $25,000. So when you hear people say, I got a $50,000 water bill at my house, this is why. The meter read it, we billed them, but we can go back. We can see that repairs are done, and then we can make an adjustment off of that. This one isn't really good because look, they fixed it, and then something else happened, and you can almost see how it's just gradually getting bigger. So that's another leak that they have to address. But this gives you an idea of how we can help people. So if you do see something in your bill that's super high on money, give us a chance, call the call center, they can look it up and they can let you know. So when you hear people say, well, I called, they said I had a leak, this is why, this is what they're looking at. I mean, they're not just saying it. We used to say it, but we're not saying it. We used to just say it. Well, we didn't know any different, you know. All right, so this is the process. You have a leak either by looking at your bill or you see it in your yard. Once a plumber comes in and makes a repair, let us know. We can look in the system and see, and then put an adjustment on your bill.
Yeah, so you no longer need to provide receipts.
Yeah, we
because
don't-
we can see that it's fixed.
We don't need plumber receipts. We don't need anything else. We can